Ah, stupid weather. Don't they know we have a race car to build and we don't even have any frame rails or drivetrain in this thing yet? And we have 8 days. How many days, Derek?
8 days.
8 days to get this car done. Jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah.
Sun ain't up, I'm out the door. Alarm clock screaming, boots hit the floor. Work comes first, that's how it goes. Mud on my boots, grease on my clothes. Blue collar man, hard and true.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Junkerup. We have a new tent cover now, and I even put tin siding on, so like I'm totally in the shade and cool right now, but not as cool as this Charger. Now, this car has 2 episodes on it now. One, when I first got it from Alan up there in Minnesota, and we spent 3 days making it run and drive, how you see it, the basket case that it is. We had to weld in some bracing here because look, that is a frame rail delete. There is no frame rail there. And this side is pretty much in the same condition. So we had to weld that bracing there just to keep the car from collapsing. And then we took it out and thrashed on it, beat on it, had some good time, whipped some cookies, went through the gears, and it was just cool to see a car that's been dead as long as I've been alive back on the road. Yes, this car was parked in 1985, the year I was born, and it decapitated into the state that you see now. But it is cool. This is an original special order 383 4-speed pistol grip tack factory disc brake car, manual steering, non-vinyl top. So this car never had a vinyl top on it. Solid FA green with white interior. And look, that back seat, it's had that cover on it since probably new. That rear seat is all spongy and soft, like new. And it has the original motor in it. Yes, the original 383 Magnum. And I was driving this thing. I was driving it on the streets until the whole, actually the clutch that's in it kind of fell apart on me. It's a Borg type clutch where it has 3 fingers. Well, one of the fingers stopped working and it kicked the throwout bearing sideways, and the clutch wouldn't work properly. And then I had to, so I kind of jerry-rigged it in the parking lot at Dan's Driveline, and tried to find the pieces that fell off of it, which I was not lying, may fall apart. That was the sign I had on the car when I was driving it on the street. And so pieces literally fell off the car to where I could no longer drive it on the street. So anyways, that's getting you caught up to where it is right now. I did put gas in it and drove it to this spot, so I can now work on it. Huh, Bolt? Yeah. Show everybody your belly. Yeah, he likes my bottom side. Yep. Well, I did a poll recently. You know, what should I take to duct tape drags? You know, because Freiberger got me a pass and everything. So I'm like, well, it's not going to cost me a lot to go, so I'm going to go. What do I take? And the 2 options I put up for everybody was, bam, my Dirt Track 70 Charger. We can either get this thing running and driving better-ers for duct tape. That car needs a lot to even be safe at any speed. Or the green 70 Charger. And of course, this car is worth way too much money, even in the dilapidated state that it's in, to qualify for the beater challenge. I have a plan though. I have a plan. I'm thinking if I get a whole bunch of like cardboard, buy like sheets of cardboard, and I wrap the whole car in cardboard, and then I Sharpie it to make it look like a 4-door Corvette. I'm thinking that I will then be able to pass in the beater challenge. I don't know, that's my plan. Anyways, Freiberger insisted I bring this one too. So guess what? I'm bringing this one. Although, to make it drag race capable, we're going to have to put a new clutch in it. The flywheel is so we're going to put a new flywheel, new clutch. We're going to put a new transmission. I got a surprise coming for you guys when you see that. It's great. And I really appreciate the help on that. When it gets here, I will dive into that. But we're going to replace the transmission. We're going to replace the drive shaft. We're going to change the gear. And we're going to tune up the engine to make it even more gooders. So I got a whole bunch of parts that we're going to throw at the engine. And we're going to put my lightweight front wheels on it. We're going to put the slicks in the back. Because Freiberger thinks that this stock engine in this heavy car, which this car, actually, you know what? Before we even start, we're going to scale it. We're going to do the mathematics on this. And because we know the DA, the air density level at Tucson Speedway is always around like 5,000 feet. And we know this car originally made 335 horsepower. What does it weigh? So we're going to weigh it, then we're going to dive into transforming this thing into the drag car it was born to be. Scales are next to it. We're going to go ahead and zero it out so there's no cheating. So I want you guys to get a number in your head. What do you think it's going to weigh right now? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Like, I know people probably think, you know, it's a Charger, it's all iron, super heavy, which you might be right. Or they're like, these cars were chintzy, they would hit a block wall at 10 miles an hour and fall apart. So, what do you think this old girl's gonna weigh? The number is in. And actually it was kind of a shock to me as well, because this is a power disc brake car. But then again, it is a heater only car. Non-AC, which AC adds a lot of weight. And it's a manual steering car. So the manual steering is an aluminum steering box. So we've got a lighter steering box. We've got a lighter heater setup. And then, but it is a manual. The manuals are heavy. But since this is a 70, it has the aluminum bell housing. And the number kind of shocks. Some of you guys might be like, oh, well, with all that rust in it, you know, that means it's way lighter. Not really, because the weight that I added here is equivalent to what is missing out of the back. So that kind of averages out. It's going to be plus or minus within a pound or two. It's not a big deal. So the final number, and we're talking original air cleaner, you know, battery, 3-speed wiper, nothing is removed from the car. And the number is, see if it hasn't changed. Nope. 3615. 3,615 pounds. That is light for an all steel 1970 Charger. When I mean all steel, check it out. All iron engine, iron intake manifold, iron cylinder heads, iron water pump housing, you know, standard weight balancer, or heavy radiator. That's not an aluminum radiator. It still has the heavy original starter in it. So I believe we're going to take probably over 100 pounds out of this car. So 3,500 pound car, 335 horsepower, if it still makes that. I think our 13-second number is looking pretty good. 13-second number, where'd that come from? Well, Freiberger says this car will not go faster than 15 at Tucson. And I'm like, yes, it will. We're going to make it. So we're going to do a few little things here and there, but make it still all stock looking. And I'm not lying, we're going to keep stock intake, stock heads, stock camshaft. We're going to keep all that stock. But we're going to shed some weight off this thing here and there and get it into the 13s and try and make a little bit more horsepower. I'm actually going to try and drag race this thing, which is a lot of abuse on the body and the rear axle, and the axle driving the suspension, which then drives the body forward. But if you look, that is all Titanic. There's just not a whole lot of meat holding this whole thing. Oh, look up in there. Titanic. That is ungooder. So lots of ungoodness, and which is probably going to lead me to have to replacing the torsion support. That's kind of a must. This left front frame rail really needs to be replaced, but I'm thinking I might be able to pass it along with some patching. I don't know. I don't want to pull the whole drive chain and replace a frame rail right now. I think that's going to be a later thing. But you can see there's lots of ungoodness with this car. Alright, so I've kind of made up my mind. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the engine so I can get a good look at that frame rail down there and possibly replace it, because it's pretty bad. So I got the radiator draining right now, which gives me time to address all the little things up here, so I can just go ahead and yank this whole setup out of here. Because then I can do the transmission, the clutch, bell housing, all that stuff outside the car. It's so much easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and tackle it that way. Smart thunker I is. Remove my original dual snorkel air cleaner. Yeah, this thing is cool. So normally I just throw everything in the trunk, but yeah, you're gonna have to find other places. Go ahead and remove my original 600 CFM Holley carburetor. This is the original carburetor, and it has that crappy transfer tube to transfer fuel from the front to the back, since it's only a single inlet and it's a vacuum secondary, but it is the proper part number listing for a 1970 383 Magnum. So to clarify, the only reason I'm pulling the engine is to fix some structure issues we have with the body. Major structure issues, like dump the clutch at 5,000 RPM and rip the left front frame rail in half type issues. That would be most ungooder. You know, just removing this radiator is going to shed some weight, because we're going to replace it with an aluminum cold case radiator, but we're not going to put it in right now because we still got a lot of things to come out. But this is another speed maneuver that is going to increase our ET time by shedding some more nose weight. So out with the heavy, and hopefully soon let it dribble a little bit. In with the lightness and the speed. Ah! Since this is not going back on, this is more horsepowers and lighter weight. Ooh, that does have some weight to it. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and remove that bomb right there. Oh yeah, I had a seat belt holding down my gas tank as well. Now I'll actually have a driver's seat belt again. Got to pull my fuel system. Fuel system disengaged. Now, you actually look at how these cars are built. It's pretty rough. Oh yeah. It's the next day. You're going to be hearing lots of noises today. Air compressor, probably hear that a lot because Derek is over here standing on my carry van. Like I said, we want to paint that thing so we can take it from creeper to cool. And I need to get back on this thing, finish tearing this. I need to get it all torn down. So, get the engine transmission out, get the whole front seat out, so that way I can pull the carpet out. We're going to end up replacing some of the floor, probably replace the left front frame rail, and probably replace the torsion support. And by probably, most likely. That's more weight off the car. This is actually the reverse lock, or no. Yeah, this is the lockout for reverse, so you can put it in reverse and it will hold it in that gear unless the key ignition releases it. Since we don't need that ever again, we'll hold on to it, but we don't need it for racing, and that's, you know, that saves probably 1.5 pounds right there, maybe 2 pounds. Pretty garbage. Also, glad I was tearing it apart because I need to replace some 4-speed linkage stuff. The ball on that is completely rusted flat on one side, so that definitely needs to be replaced. I think to save time, we're just going to, because here forward the frame rail is fine, so I think we're just going to, and to save time, not having to take the whole front bumper off and drill and cut all this out. I think we're just going to whack the frame rail off right there, and we're going to leave the original shock tower in there because that's okay, and plus it'll keep the original look of the inner fender. So on the other side, because you know the replacement frame rail I have is yellow, so imagine green and then yellow, it would be pretty ugly. So hack off there, cut all that shit out, cut the plasma and cut some bracketry out. And I'm going to jig it up too, so we're going to weld some braces from here down to the frame rail. Probably tack weld something from that corner over here to triangulate it a little bit. And just, we're going to quickly replace frame rail and torsion support while the car is on jack stands. So yes, you can do that. Just think, this is probably the first time this 383 numbers motor has ever been out of this body. It's loose. All right, away it goes. Up and up. Dang it, I forgot to undo the front 2 bolts on the hood to give it more angle of the dangle and tilt on the hood so the engine and transmission will come out the top at like a 45-degree angle. So let me go ahead and bust those loose, and hopefully these hood bolts are not super rusty. Yep, this is the first time this hood is ever coming off this car, or at least tilted up. Well, while it's out, we might as well throw a rear main seal in it, because at this angle, all that oil just running out of the rear main seal and or the oil pan. So, which is no buenos. So we might as well get it on the engine stand and also put a rear seal in it and oil pan gaskets. It's like the snowball effect. Just more and more and more. That's odd. Usually it's the driver's side that's busted, because that's the torque side, not the passenger side. Who'd have thunk? Looks a whole lot different without a motor in it, but yeah. Want to go upside down for a second and check this out? Yeah. That's the whole reason the motor's coming out. That rail is not that bad. The torque side, the side that's going to accept all the torques from dumping the clutch at 5,000 RPMs, that side is Titanic. How much you want to bet those horns do not work? Since they do not work, we do not need them, and we can remove them to save weight. Probably like a whopping 2 or 3 pounds. Well, none of this brake system is worth a shit, so why even keep it in the car and add weight? So we're just gonna go ahead and eliminate all the factory brake lines, the e-brake, all of that. You know, and after duct tape drags, I'll go ahead and put new rear brakes in it, new brake lines, new everything. But for right now, this is weight that I can shed and still look factory. Well, seeing as how we're not going to have any rear brake lines, there's no need to have rear drums. That's just more mass to spin and slows down the acceleration. That came off surprisingly easy. See, now we can take all this crap off too, because we're not going to need any of that shit. Yeah, that's what speed looks like. Back to work on the 70 Charger duct tape drags build. It is nighttime now. You know, I got a belly full of food, dessert, but back to it. I'm gonna pull the manual steering box. So that's an aluminum steering box, which is what contributed to this thing being so light. But I'm gonna remove it so that way there's less stuff in the way of the frame rail, or well, replacing the frame rail, and proceed to moving forward with the frame rail. I'm trying to go forward to back on this thing. But what I need to do is I need to knock the roll pin out of the splined coupler that's attached to the steering shaft, so I can knock that loose and then get this thing out of here. But this might be the wrong size. Let me see. That roll pin is really stuck in there. It's going to take some heat to free that thing up. Bam. That thing is on there. I figured that was going to be a problem. There it goes. Ah, it popped. Okay. Alright, I know you saw that pry bar bending. So now that I knew that popped, I go ahead and bust the steering column loose just so I can pull the steering column back far enough and get it off the steering box, bust the pitman arm off of the drag link, and unbolt the steering box and get that sucker out the way. In the short amount of time I've owned this car, pretty much been all through this thing. And probably eaten some of the rust on this car too. Alright, one nut to go. Okay, now I can finish popping it loose. These are way freaking lighter. It's a beautiful new day. And when I was pulling the engine out of that green semi-charger, it was about at that angle, and oil was just running out the back of the block. You know, around the oil pan seal, around the oil pan gasket, and I was curious, I wanted to diagnose where exactly it's coming from. So we went ahead and strapped it up, so that way oil would run to the back of the block. And yep, I found out exactly where the oil is coming from. So it's coming from the side strip in the rear main seal cap. So the side strip here, you see the oil running down out of it, and the side strip here, you see the oil running down out of it. So that was just a quick little diagnosing I wanted to do, because we've had rear main seal issues before, and a lot of the time rope seals are the ticket. So I didn't know if I needed to pull the rope seal out or just leave it in, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it in, because it's not that, it is these side strips. I'm gonna have Derek do the grungy part and pull the gas tank and the rear shocks. I'm gonna go ahead and start ripping the interior out of this thing. I got the steering column loose already, but I need to pull the seats out so that way we can access the carpet, so it'll expose all the metal. So I need to drill out the torsion support and drop that guy. Derek is cleaning the engine right now. It was pretty grungy and filthy, so he's taking care of that. I'm actually thinking I was not the first person to pull the engine out of this car before, because the engine has been painted like a turquoise color over the original orange, and well, you can see it's had turquoise under the motor mount, so this engine has been out before. Maybe it's been rebuilt, I don't know. Maybe it's had a cam put in it, maybe they changed the heads, I don't know. I don't even know what casting heads these are, because maybe they put 915s on it. All things we're going to find out after Derek cleans it. And get fixed. Why are you fighting me? Ugh. Well, the seat studs in this thing are pretty rough. They're a little mildly rusty. Where if I heat them up and hit them with the wire wheel, we'll most likely still have threads that I can put the seats back in. But if I just went ahead and put an impact on this thing right now, it would just snap it off. There'd be nothing left. It'd just be nut and stud ripped right off. So, but if I heat it up and carefully remove it, I can then put the seat back in and it will be fine. We're gonna go ahead and heat this guy up. Try and knock off most of the loose rust. And plus, heating it up will break the rust bond that's in the nut to the stud. Come on, be nice to me. Oh yeah, that's going to work. Ha ha ha. Now I only got 7 more to go. Oh man, That was a heck of a jump. Well, I just traveled back in time 5 days, in fact, to show you guys something cool. We got the new Junkerup t-shirts, and this is all for this build right here. This is the green 1970 383 4-speed pistol grip car that it's pretty rusty. It's pretty rough. But it's Survivor car, and we're going to take it to Duct Tape Drags. You guys voted for me to bring this car to Duct Tape Drags. So, this is the design that IROX came up with me. I gave him a rough idea, and check it out. That's pretty sweet. We got the drag tree, we got the rat fink style pistol grip, we got the duct tape burnout, and this is taken off of a picture of this car. So you can see it's got all the rust all over it, and it has the signature rust on the gas cap, so you know it is the same car. Well, if you would love to support the channel and support this car going to Duct Tape Drags, which you guys are right now just by watching this show, and I appreciate it. But if you would like to own one of these shirts that has Junkerup on the front, has that cool setup on the back, well, just go to junkerupgarage.com. Yep, junkerupgarage.com. They're now available as of this moment when you watch this episode. Well, I need to get back to the future so I can finish the build on this car because it's waiting for me and it needs a crap ton of work still. Well, you know the seats are loose when they're laying back. Go ahead and rip these guys out of here. My surfboard seats. That's what they look like. And what they feel like when you take a corner. Side note. So, see these little spacers right here? They're just spacers that go under the seat that actually go into the carpet. It's just, well, basically it's like a little hockey puck. And if you want the seat to sit like ½ inch lower to 5/8 of an inch lower, just remove these guys and it will plop your butt closer to the floor pan. I always do that, so these will not be going back on. Need to be lower center of gravity for all the cornering G-forces. You know, I used to be a console guy, like didn't like buddy seats, but now I like them because when you're driving down the road and you fold this down, it's like the perfect arm height. And then, I don't know, it's just more convenient. Man, there's just acorns and poop everywhere. But those seat frames are actually really nice. Look at that. Still has all the paint all over the springs and the bracketry and everything. That is rare. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, go ahead and drain the oil out of that motor. So, okay, yeah, new problem. The oil pan on the engine has a tiny little rust hole that after we pressure washed the engine, we must have knocked that last little flicker of rust that was holding the oil in. And so now the oil started to drip out. So Derek's going to go ahead and drain the oil out of the engine because our engine will no longer hold oil. Now I'm going to cut the carpet in half so it's a little easier to get out. Ugh. See, sometimes the build sheet is under the carpet. Unfortunately, I don't see it. We don't have a build sheet in this car. At least haven't found one yet. Found lots of ickiness though. Oh wow, it's really not all that bad. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Man, it's actually super nice today. It's not hot, it's not cold. It's like 78, 80 degrees right now. It's going to get hotter, but for right now, it's perfect. And also, what kind of looks perfect is like these floors until you get to there. Yeah. The entire Torsion Sports junk. The entire entire left front frame rail is junk right here. And so to remove those two items, it's going to be a lot of work. But see, I'm going to do it quickie style. You know, this needs to be done quickly. This doesn't need to be done like professionally. It'll be done nicely, but just we're going to be grafting in some areas instead of replacing entire panels. So I think what's going to happen is yes, you're upside down, is instead of cutting the entire front frame rail out here, the very front part of this I think I'm just going to cut, and we're going to graft in the new frame rail into that. And then the inner fender is also junk. So I think we're going to graft our donor inner fender probably to about here. Yeah, probably about right there, and then go over to the shock tower and then down, and then the rest of that will be replaced. Reason for that is well, that's junk, and what I have here is better. So this is off of a 1968 Dodge Charger. I bought this off of eBay. It was an entire front clip from a 68 Charger. Actually got it from Jeremy McDonald. But you can see this is actually nice here. It just has one little soft spot right there, so we'll just cut that out and patch it. But the frame rail itself is, I'm going to say, way more betters than what we're dealing with. And the inner fender on that is good, so we're going to use that. And the only reason I'm not using that whole thing is, well, it'll look kind of stupid with a yellow inner fender and a yellow shock tower on a green car. Yeah, I know it can get painted later, but what I'm doing right now can also get painted later. And it'll still be just as strong, and probably stronger. You're going to add some extra bracing in there. But before I cut anything out, I want to brace it all up. So we're going to add some cross brace, diagonal brace, and since we're removing this frame rail, well, the jack stand's under that frame rail. So we're going to have to add some bracing to hold the car in that position underneath. So we'll probably just add a couple down bars, just some square tubing and whatnot. We're going to probably cut the floor about here, just after the torsion support, up over. So we're going to cut that section out. So then then we'll drill all the spot welds out to remove the torsion support. So we're going to put a whole new torsion support in it, mostly a new left front frame rail. Then we can actually add subframe connectors to the thing. Well, we got a little poof right there. It looks goofy. Then we can actually add subframe connectors to this thing, and it will be more. Dang, I still got the alfalfa going on. I'll have to wear a hat and mow that down. But subframe connectors added, and it will be way more mucho stronger. Way more mucho stronger. That's like 4 adjectives right there. It means it's going to be 4 times better.
Frozen grounds beneath the air, hands go numb, but the job gets done. Steel turns brittle, wind cuts deep, pushing on strong, no time to sleep. Summer sun burning, sweat in my eyes, breathing heavy on the red hot skies. Rain falls heavy on my back, work won't stop, I'll stay on track. I don't do rules, I don't do plans, I show.
Okay, now that the body or the front clip has been reinforced so I can start butchering frame rails out of it, let's go ahead and get the jack out of the way, or jack stand, so I can proceed to cutting. Voila. Door shuts nice, body's braced up. We can commence to cutting it apart now. Got our diagonal bracing. We got our one brace on the front of the rail. We have a brace pretty much right at the torsion support. So those two will support the weight of that corner of the car. So when we cut the frame rail out, it will remain the weight of those two corners. It's so annoying when guys will look at a car and be like, oh, it's got some rust in the frame rail, it's scrap now, it's junk. You can't restore that. It's so dumb. Here I am replacing a torsion support, floor patch, and left front frame rail on jack stands. And I'll probably just go ahead and replace the entire rear clip on jack stands as well. Not right now, but later. Because, you know, I can race with these frame rails as is because we have our fancy supporting in there. Oh yeah. It's NASCAR tech right there. Plus, I have a car sitting on my jig right now anyway. This is normally what I do, frames on chargers, but it has a charger sitting on it. But you can still do it on jack stands at home. And as for the rear clip, it's easy. Where that's at right there, normally they just rod out right behind the shock tower. Even at halfway, right above the axle back is typically where they rod out. So what you can do is you can just put your jack stand there, tack weld the jack stand to the frame rails, and from there you can run support braces, you know, like ladder bar system from here up to there, and it'll create a saddle. So then that's where the new frame rail will sit, is in the saddle. So you can cut everything out, put your new frame rail back in place in the saddle, or you can run additional bracing from up top where the hinge, like I did up here. You know, you can run additional bracing there, and you're just creating pickup points to where locate the frame rail where it's at before you remove it, so when you put it back in, it'll go back into the same spot. So you can do all this stuff at home on jack stands. You don't have to have a fancy frame machine or take it to an auto body shop that is most likely just going to do the same thing I'm doing here. You can do it! I think what I'm going to do first is try and tackle removing the torsion support and then removing the frame rail. But there is one spot weld that is under my 4-speed hump, and I'm going to remove the hump anyway, so that way when I put my floor patch in here I can just weld this back over it. So commence to cutting MIG welds. Now we can save my original 4-speed hump for the new floor pan patch. Time to separate the floor pan from the torsion support, and which involves drilling out or cutting a bunch of spot welds. And there's multiple ways to do this. So, and on this, we're going to do both ways. See, half this floor is completely garbage. I don't care about it. I'm just going to take a Sawzall and just cut all that out because it's all shit anyways. But this side, that floor is good. So I'm going to drill out the spot welds here, in which if I didn't care about saving this but keeping the torsion support, I would most likely use this guy, and I would just go back and forth until the spot weld's gone. But since I'm trying to save the floor, we just want to keep the hole circular so I can go and plug weld it again, which we could use this guy. But since I don't care about the torsion support under it, why waste expensive bits when we can just use a regular drill bit and drill straight through both of them, because the torsion support is getting replaced anyway, and this will leave me a perfect plug weld hold to drill into the new torsion support. So there's going to be multiple processes to happen on this floor pan and torsion support. Heat usually always does the trick. Haha. And usually you need to knock them loose. Now I can go ahead and attach my torsion bar removal tool, which this will just get bolted to the torsion bar just so we can play whack-a-mole on it. Aha! That wasn't that bad at all. Alright, let me explain my next plan of attack here. So, since we're not saving anything right here except for the rocker, I'm just going to cut along here and then probably just like sawzall through the torsion support. We're just going to sawzall the frame rail section out. We're just going to go ahead and cut along the seam of the firewall. Go ahead and cut there, and then we'll go ahead and remove what is left of the floor that is spot welded to the top of the rocker, which, as you can tell, there's not a whole lot there. You know, there's very little of the floor pan there. So we'll probably just go in there with a, here it is right here. We'll go in there with this and blow away what is left. But we're going to make this really simple. I have already drilled the spot welds that is attaching the passenger frame rail to the torsion support. Well, really, I only had to drill 2 because the rest of them just kind of came loose with this because there was not a whole lot of metal there. If you really want to learn where to weld to and clean metal, just grab some MAP gas, wire wheel, and you're only heating up the paint enough just to show the metal. See, both of these were wire wheeled. That was wire wheeled, that was wire wheeled. But can you tell which metal is more clean? I'll give you a hint. It's that one. So I was hoping I would only have to just overlap the floor pan, but it looks like I'm going to have to include the flange as well, because there's just, after wire wheeling all that, there's just nothing to attach the original floor to. So I'm actually listening to Kenny Wallace podcast, NASCAR driver, so kind of fun to listen to it once in a while. I always got to listen to something when I'm working. Keeps me from thinking too much. Flintstone edition. Well, obviously there's a big hole here, and I got to continue to be cutting on this thing. So instead of trying to drill out the spot welds on all that, you know, the metal here is not the greatest anyway, because the moisture was stuck in the torsion support and just kind of ate up around that. So why waste the time trying to drill those out when it's like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to cut a big square here, cut that crap out, and replace it with new metal that the new torsion support will attach to. Same thing on this side. That's kind of the prime example of why I'm doing that, is there's a hole over there in the inner rocker. And that's notorious because moisture and dirt, well, dirt and moisture get stuck in the torsion support, and that dirt holds the moisture, and it just continues to eat at the inner rocker, plus salt. This is a Minnesota car, so salt ate it up. And I may leave this and then just kind of overlap the new one with the old one, but I do need to do some dicing and slicing and cutting and configuring to the rest of the left front rail, because we're not going to remove all of it. So there's going to be some trimming, cutting, slicing here and there, so that way, and I have to do the same thing to the replacement. We have to graft it in. So it's just kind of seat of the pants, fly by the wire, just figuring out what I need to do, what I want to do, and how much time it's going to take. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but it kind of gives you a good example of the shit that comes out of the frame rails on a rusty car. And I had already, with the air gun, blown some shit out of there, but they're just full of flakiness. So imagine like if they drug up the Titanic, that's what you'd be looking at. By the time the air dried that thing out, it would just crumble to pieces. But look at the car. It officially has frame rail delete option, and I left the K-frame here in place as another jigging tool. So getting jiggy with it. This, it all will help realign the frame rail in place. It'll be fine, but look, but using the K-frame, that is going to center that. So it will be fine up here. Back there, it can be plus or minus 1/4 inch either direction. Literally does not matter. And these cars, in fact, were plus minus sometimes 1/2 inch from the factory. I've seen it. I've got the frame jig over there, which that other car is sitting on it. I have seen these cars way off. So this will be probably even more gooder than original. All right, here is a prime example of why you need to reinforce the bodies on your B body, A body, E body Mopars. Is they're just flexy flyers. I mean, these things were not built to stand the test of time, or were they built rigid at all. Look at this. This is the inner fender. So this is the only thing that reinforces your frame rails. And look at that. Look at that flexi flyer stuff. I mean, look, 2 fingers, look at that. And I'm not Hercules either. And you might be thinking, oh, well, the frame rail's gone. Well, here's your frame rail. 16 gauge sheet metal. That is what your frame rails are on a Mopar. They're not strong. So the way to fix that is you can box in this whole upper inner fender, which ties the door jamb, the firewall. It actually creates a whole box on this area, and it will eliminate all of this, reinforce the load going from here down to the shock tower, down to the frame rail, and get rid of all of this shakiness. So it's more gooder. Yep, so since that frame rail is in fact gone, time to work on the donor. So it's like a puzzle piece. The puzzle piece that I took out, now I have to trim this up and remove everything that's not needed, so I can then take this puzzle piece and put it where the old puzzle piece used to be. And stuff like that. As long as your car still has frame rails to it, or somewhat frame rails, I always think they get heavier as time goes on, because look at this. All of this, and this weighs, oh, probably at least 3-4 pounds. This is all just shit that came out of this left front frame rail. Just one rail, that skinny little rail, all of that, and that's a lot. So that's why I'm saying these cars typically get heavier as time goes on. But the frame rail is all cut and dissected. I do need to do some rust patching. You know, this frame rail is not great, but it's definitely a lot better. So I'm gonna do some patching there, patching down here. You know, maybe even do some gusseting and make it even stronger than it would have been original. But it's food time, and I was hungry and just got done breathing lots of rust and dirt for hours. Engine is torn down about as far as we're really gonna go. I mean, we're not doing a complete engine rebuild. We're not throwing heads at it. We're not throwing cams at it. We're not doing any of that. Part of the story with this car is I want to see how fast we can make it go with the stock engine. Yes, the original 1973 HP engine. And to my surprise, so this is the original timing chain. It has the notorious nylon plastic teeth to it, but not the whole tooth is plastic. There's actually a skeleton underneath there. You can see we're doing our x-ray right now. So there's an aluminum tooth underneath the plastic. And, oh, you just saw it. Yep, it's got the wiggles. So obviously this timing chain is completely stretched. Look, we can do the wave with it. Yep, so we're going to put a new timing chain on it. It is Halloween time, so the horrors of the original nylon timing chain replaced with high performance double roller chain here in a little bit. But yes, we're going to remove this guy, replace the chain, and as much as I want to put like a big cam in it, I'm forcing myself not to. So instead, we are going to put new valve springs on it. Here is my little homemade jobber tool I have to replace the valve springs. So these are the original HP valve springs. You can tell because they have red paint on them. Yes, so all of the HP engines had the red performance springs, and I haven't even checked this, but all the HP engines will in fact also have, yep, it does have it. I can see the extra layer there. There is a windage tray in there. So you'll have oil pan, and see that thin layer of sheet metal right there? That is the windage tray that's in there. So it does have windage. And we do have to replace this oil pan, which it is the 402 oil pan. Yeah, the pan's got a little rust in it, and as we were pressure washing cleaning the engine, one of the rust particles that was probably keeping the last bit of oil in the engine broke loose, and so now the oil pan has a hole in it. So I ordered a new reproduction 402 oil pan so we can just bolt it on and use the original pickup. Oh yeah, let me show you my valve spring compressor tool here. So the whole goal is you charge the cylinder with air so the valve is stuck up. And then I can take just a ratchet and I can hook it up to this guy right here. There we go. And then presto, look at that. Full valve spring compressage. So kind of a little handy tool I came up with. Works really good. All right, so let's go ahead and get a head start on replacing valve springs and timing chain. Now that all the valve springs are swapped and there's no rockers on the engine, nothing loading the camshaft, look at how much play is in this guy. I mean, that's probably, 6 degrees, 5 to 6 degrees of retard in that camshaft. So when we put the new one on, that is going to advance that all back up, raise the cylinder pressure, and get this sucker to eat out of the hole. And then the valve springs will carry it all the way through down the track. So what we're going to replace that clapped out timing chain setup is with a Howard's Cam POW right there. This is their double roller 9 keyway adjustable timing chain setup, so we can advance or retard the cam with all those multiple hexes. So it is going to be mucho gooder. I know you've done it. I've done it too. But never bash these on with a hammer. Use an installer tool. Before we get the car, or get the engine mated back to the car, I'm going to go ahead and replace these front freeze plugs. And also, since weird, the driver's side motor mount is still intact, I'm going to swap the isolators, swap the motor mounts from side to side, so that way the passenger side gets the dampening, and I'm going to take the broken one and I'm going to weld it up so that way it's the solid side. So the driver's side is the torque side. That's the one that's going to do all the lifting. The bolts are a little rusty, so heating the threads up, heating the nut up is going to soften the rust. So much better when you apply heat. I got smarter on the other side. I forgot that I didn't drain the block all the way. All right, I have my solid welded up motor mount. So now when I'm doing all my bang shifting, never lifting, I won't rip the motor mount. So we swapped mounts and the torn one, welded it together. Now I can go ahead and get it bolted back to the engine and, oh yeah, it's missing the intake. Yeah, so I pulled the intake because, well, it kind of looked like it needed a new valley pan. You can see it was like leaking oil on the front and the back, and I just wanted to pull the intake and just kind of get a look down there and see what it looks like. And I already had another valley pan to put on it, so we're gonna go ahead and get that all cleaned up, get the intake back on it, get my motor mount on it, flip it upside down so I can start addressing ARP rod bolts. Yeah, with all the RPMs and all the abuse we're gonna throw at it, I just didn't want to risk throwing a rod. Cheap insurance, like, I don't know, what was this, like 85 bucks, I think? And I know there's a few guys on the other side of this screen that are going, you can't put those in without resizing the rods. Yes, you can. I've done it. Thousands of others have done it. Now, if you bought the Wave Lock rod bolts, those do stretch a lot more, but these, you can get away with just dropping these in and not having to worry about resizing your rod bearings or your rod end. Big end. Ooh, get that good itch going. It is a damn good thing I pulled the oil pan in doing this, because look. That would have been most ungood when that completely clogged that pickup tube and my engine was starving for oil. Most ungooder, but good scenario I didn't do that. So we're going to go ahead and remove this guy. I'll have Derek clean it out for me. But this engine did have oil pressure, so at least it wasn't 100% clogged. Oh. All right. Well, I'll get this I'll start pulling caps, checking rod bearings, and as long as I have good rod bearings, I'm going to go ahead and press in the ARP rod bolts for all the RPMs. So Derek unknowingly compacted everything into the pickup tube. Yeah, he took the pressure washer and like tried to blow it out from the top side, which basically just compacted everything into the pickup tube. Don't do that. You want to start from this end, blow it all out. So I had to take it apart and flush it out, and now it can be cleaned up and reassembled, so we'll have a pickup tube again. So I went ahead and overnighted bearings, which actually wasn't too bad because Summit, is here in Nevada. They'll be here tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and punch in all my new rod bolts, which will kind of save me time later. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We'll finish cleaning up parts and probably get back to on the charger, doing a few little bit of metalwork things to it until my new bearings show up. Swapping out the rod bolts on one of the rods, I always wiggle the rod to make sure it still feels good. This one felt a little tight, and I'm like, I better check this one. Check that bearing out. That one is totally wiped, and this thing was about to seize. Like, it won't even fit over the rod without, it won't even fit over the crankshaft without pressing it in. So it already started to, cup. This thing was about to seize. But it didn't hurt the crank. It was still getting enough oil. The crank is fine. So the crankshaft was saved just in time so we could put new rod bearings in it and not have to machine anything. Close one. See, that's the only one where the rod cap was starting to discolor. That means heat. Ungood. Guess what I got now? I got bearings. Yep. Overnighted bearings. Of course, Summit's in northern Nevada, so they're only like 8 hours from me. But I paid the extra $30 so that way I know I would get these in time. So now we can go ahead and slap these new bearings onto my Tree 83 race car engine. Well, street car engine that we're going to race, because this thing is pretty much stock. Stock cam, stock crank, stock rods. We did put ARP rod bolts on it. I mean, we put a water pump housing. I did put a fluid balancer on it because the balancer that was on this thing was trashed. So I'm like, if we're going to put a balancer on it, let's just put a better one. So hopefully that will help with the harmonics and get this engine to run even better.
Today I'm going to install coilovers.
After a bit, I didn't like the disc directly in line with my junk.
I was going to suggest shooting a cold open right there, but I was like, I don't want this as the thumbnail.
If you saw the orange intake, you would in fact be correct in your thinking that it's not the original intake. It is, however, an original intake, just not to this engine. It's not the numbers matching intake. But there are no VIN numbers on an intake manifold, so I swapped it. And if you're a Mopar guy, you're probably looking at this going, hey, something is different here. Something doesn't quite look right. And you, again, you'd in fact be correct. So here is the factory original numbers matching intake. It has 4 holes. Now, in this middle hole here, that goes clear all the way down. Like my fingernail is now touching the bottom of that that runner there. And you know, it's all sharp edges, and it's just real restrictive plenum. And it's not only a dual plane, it's a 4-hole dual plane. So it is like for maximum low-end grunts, and that's about it. We're trying to free up a little bit of top end, and I'm trying to stay true to, you know, original parts, you know. So I cheated just a little bit, just a little cheat there, just tiny bit of cheat. So by cutting the 4-hole out and removing the divider, we have kind of turned it into a hybrid single plane, dual plane intake manifold. So it's gonna, we might lose a tidbit of low RPM torque, but we're going to gain more RPM torque. So now I need to pull the intake back off. I just lightly bolted it down to try and get the valley pan to stick to the heads, because now I need to port match the cylinder head intake runners to the intake runners on the intake manifold. But check it out. That's going to be way more betters. And to top it off, let me show you my other cheater part. What did I do with it? Ah, here we go. So it's going to look like a 4-hole again. Bam! There's 4 holes. That side's tapered. So this is a combo tapered spacer, and we're going to put this on top of that. So at first glance, it's going to look like a 4-hole. See, look how much meat I'm giving up right there. And you do not want that shelf to interfere with the intake runner. And again, not cheating. Even in circle track, I'm allowed to port match 1 inch into the cylinder head. So we're not doing a full port jab, we're just port matching, which is definitely going to help. So I am done port matching, never had to remove the heads or nothing, just threw some rags down in there, went ahead and cleaned it up, and look how much better that is. So we're going to get all the flows out of that. And of course, with the stock cam and everything, that was probably only worth 2Z, 3Z, 4Z, 5Z horsepower, maybe. But I definitely know I didn't want, and a lot of that was casting, and a lot of that was imperfections in the cylinder head. Like some cylinder heads had a hump up here, some had more meat up here, some had more meat down there, some had more meat on this side, some had more meat on that side. So at least now they're all blueprinted to the valley pan gasket, which was also blueprinted to my intake manifold. So now I can make those guys up after thoroughly cleaning that. So I just realized it is really getting down to crunch time. Yeah, like, what is today, Derek? The 9th? 10th? 9th. So we have, oh man, we only have 8 days to get a car that has no frame rails, no torsion support, no drivetrain, transmission's not even here yet. Wait till you see that. The engine, however, is assembled. So this can actually get ready to drop in. However, without a transmission, it's still not a functional car. Yeah, I have been reinforcing and gusseting my left front frame rail because it really was not all that great. It was more greater than what we pulled off, but I wouldn't consider it good. So I've made some gusset plates here and there, some reinforcements. Derek's got one in his hand. It was getting rained on. The weather is not cooperating because it keeps sprinkling and drizzling all day. Oh, we got the torsion support all cleaned up. Got it drilled out. This is a donor torsion support out of a, I think it says on here somewhere, a 68 satellite. So 68 satellite torsion support will then go in our car. Here is my left front frame rail. As you can tell, it's a little freckled, and I have gusseted that right there because if you look, it was pretty pitted in there. So this is going to get cut out. That's going to get plated. That's going to get plated. I have a new top rail piece, and then I'm even thinking about reinforcing from here all the way to here to plate that. That is solid, but I'm just thinking for additional support for when I dump the clutch at 5,000 RPMs. However, like I said, it's still like a light sprinkle, drizzle, and it's stopping me from pour 15ing my frame rails. Yes, pour 15. I'm going to spray pour 15 on my rails inside and out, but we can't put it on the rack because it keeps what, Derek?
Raining.
I know, it keeps slowing up the process. And the engine's already done, but there is a few things I still can do. All right, rain's picking up again. Ah, stupid weather. Don't they know that we have cars to build? And unlike Pole Barn Garage with his Gucci shop, I'm not working in one. Yeah, this, however, is not all that great either. And this right here is one of the brackets that holds the gas tank in. Well, that doesn't seem all that safe, just sitting there dangling like that. And if you notice, the other one is missing. Well, because it rotted off. Hey, Bolt, what you doing, buddy? You trying to get your camera time? So I'm thinking we're going to have to go a strap across the top of the rear rails and then weld new gas tank straps in, or not new gas tank straps, but new gas tank anchor points. Yeah, the rain's really picking up now, Derek. All right, we got the welder pulled back. We're gonna have to cover some stuff up. Well, the clock is definitely ticking on this, and normally when I'm restoring a car, I mean, we'll pull the donor pieces, we'll have them sandblasted. There'll be much nicer pieces than this. Actually, that one's not bad. That's a pretty good piece there. But this here, not the greatest. So I've actually plated, and well, anyway, this is getting plated. I left one of the hole open on the top so I can actually get in there with the gun and get some epoxy in there. I'm using pour 15, which is really nasty stuff. Like, this stuff takes 24 hours to dry, but it like bonds to the rust and seals it. And even though I'm plating this from the outside, I kind of want to cure it from the inside because you don't want to be, 10, 15 years down the road and having to replace the rail again. So let's see, how do we put this? I'm doing the right thing the wrong way, taking shortcuts because, I'm under the gun on time for this car. So after it's pour 15'd, I'll pull the tape off, I'll spray some weld through primer on it, and these will be all the areas that we're going to weld to. But I need to hurry on this because tomorrow these need to be in the car, like for realsies. Well, guys, it's really coming down to the wire. 8 days, like I had mentioned previously. and really need to get cracking on it. And this episode is already super long. I know because I lived it. So even if I chop this up into a bunch of little pieces, it's still going to be decently long. So this, we're going to have to divide this up into two. So this is going to be the ending of the first part of the green 1970 3-3 4-speed numbers matching Survivor Dodge Charger that was special ordered with all the original paperwork, trying to get it into the 13s at Duct Tape Drags. And currently there is nothing in here. There's no frame rails, there's no drivetrain. It's all, the engine's under the cover over there, and the frame rails these need to go in there along with a floor pan and everything else. So stay tuned for the next part of this episode. The next part will be hopefully all of this together and at the track, and we can achieve that 13-second pass. Because guess what? If I can pull off a 1339 or faster, I get a clean, crisp $100 bill from the David Freiberger. And Pole Barn Garage doesn't believe that as well, so he's going to double it up. So I might be able to come home making money from Duct Tape Drags. So it's going to be pretty good. I'm literally looking forward to it, but I also really need to get forward progress on this car. Also, check out junkerupgarage.com. We have the cool new 70 Charger Duct Tape Drag shirts available. So it's going to be, yes, junkerupgarage.com. We're going to have these on there. We still have some minty shirts left. Man, so much has been going on. I haven't had a chance to film a whole lot or even explain a whole lot. But these are actually really nice. They're screen printed. This is not vinyl, so these are actually going to be really good. This is the prototype shirt, so this one actually is vinyl. But the actual shirts are screen printed, so they're super comfy. All right, well, I need to get to cracking because me and Derek need to get to build them. Ooh, that's a lot of pressure. Okay. Okay, it's mask time. Thanks for watching, thanks for watching, guys. Oh man. Oh, hopefully I don't die between now and then.
On the track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they told them.
The officials were not happy, I guess, because I sprinkled the track with rust.
Well, no, you more than sprinkled it. You piled it everywhere, dude.
Well, my crack is that big, so they're definitely not going to allow me through. So I'm going to go ahead, before I even get started on this big build, is replace that windshield. Look, I restored something. Yeah, the dash is all like satiny and new looking again. And the only reason that even got done, the only reason the dash was sanded and painted was because to pass tech at Duct Tape Drags. Yes, I see a lot of guys that show up with cars that are not capable of passing tech. Just because you bought a pass to race does not mean you're going to be allowed to race. You have to pass tech. This car had a crack in the windshield. It was about, halfway across the glass. I knew they were not going to allow that to fly. So I removed the glass, and while the glass was out, went ahead,
sanded and painted the dash. Because I'm there. Might as well make it look nice.